I don't think I've ever seen this many people actually going at Jordan. And then it's all these old heads clapping back like, you guys just don't know anything about Jordan. And the thing that I'm seeing is all the younger guys and all the people that are on the side of we're done with the 90s. They're throwing out numbers. They're throwing out footage. They're throwing out actual things that back up what they're saying. And then I see the typical response from the nostalgia driven minds of, man, you guys just don't know. This is what you get for just getting to look at highlights. This is what you get. You never know what MJ was. And the truth is,
All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Jake Winnikine, and Alan Tomasella. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About the Balls podcast. I'm Mark Davis. I'm in the Sack House. I'm not alone. No. I am joined with my wonderful basketball crew. Yes, that's Jake Winnikine. That's Alan Tomasella. And like I said, we're here to talk NBA, and we might even sprinkle NFL because there's still a lot happening in free agency, some trades going on. But first, before we do anything, Jake, how are you doing? Also, happy belated birthday.
Appreciate it. Year older. Doing great tonight. Doing better than my Warriors, who are down Steph and Dre tonight. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have any hope in the Warriors this year. I think it's that ship has sailed. It's probably been sailed since the championship 2 seasons ago, to be honest. But Alan, how are you doing? I know you're about to head out for a couple weeks for some work trips, but how you feeling tonight?
yeah, pretty good, man. Pretty good. I'm enjoying right now what I'm seeing from the Lakers, man. We're going out and we're playing great team basketball right now. I see D'Lo is really getting into his stride, man. I just really hope he can keep it up. I mean, it kind of feels like he's finally hit his like place where he belongs on this team, and I really like where that's going right now. And you can see it over the last couple of weeks, man. We've been playing lights out, and I just want to ask a question. Every morning, Stephen A. Smith, he keeps on putting on his Twitter, send him questions, and every morning I've asked him the same question: why is no one talking about Anthony freaking Davis? I just keep asking that.
I think they have hammered him so much in the past. I know Shannon did, at least at Fox Sports, and they've hammered him a little bit on First Take from what I've seen. I think they just want to see what he's going to do in the playoffs. It's the same stuff that you know what you're trying to get. You're going to get great nights from him, then you're going to get shit nights. But the playoffs is where we want to see it. So I think that they're waiting for the playoffs for Anthony Davis talk.
Yeah, well, listen, he's did everything he answered the call this year because it wasn't just the playoffs; it was his up and down game the entire year, and they were hammering him about it. This is who he is now, and he has been coming out and performing every single night he's on the floor. He's only missed 4 games this year. He's just playing phenomenal, man. The other night, 27, 25, 3, 7 steals. I mean, 5 assists. The guy was just balling out, and I mean, never been done before. He's just insane right now, and that's been what he's been all year long for us.
And we're going to talk Lakers in a few minutes. We're going to probably open up with the Clippers, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good, boys. Miami's a little bit of a roller coaster right now. I mean, that's typical Miami. The last couple of years, they kind of just get in the playoffs, and we'll let them make a little run. Well, besides 2 years ago, they were the 1 seed in the East, but last year, same thing. They kind of struggled at the end of the season, and then they picked it up right at the right time. They're playing Denver right now, and they're looking pretty good. They got the champs on the ropes almost through 3 quarters. But Duncan Robinson, by the way, I said last week, the man's cutting out here. I'm watching right now. He's over here fucking making cuts to the rim, dude. This is not the old Duncan Robinson. This is our guy. Him and Jimmy Buckets are going to carry the Heat to the finals. But let's talk Clippers because some unfortunate and some predictable news came out of their camp. Kawhi Leonard left the first half with back spasms, left in street clothes, and he just went home. So I guess now Paul George did return. That's a good sign for them. But I guess the question is, how concerned now should we be with Kawhi Leonard, who got hurt on a back-to-back night game?
As we said last episode, we knew that this was coming with the Clippers. We were making our predictions. We knew Clippers were going to get hurt. It never fails. They haven't been healthy all year. When they are, yes, they're lights out. One of the best teams in the NBA. But I mean, Kawhi's now back spasm. That's going to linger. That's just going to go away. I mean, I think Clippers are done. They'll be out the first round if Kawhi's not 100% healthy.
Listen, out of all of the guys that are on that team that can't afford to get injured for them to be successful in the playoffs, it's Kawhi. Like, we all know that Russell is just going to jack up shots. We know that James Harden folds in the playoffs, and we know that Paul George has had his struggles in the playoffs as well. Kawhi Leonard is the only guy that has just come out and dominated an entire playoffs. He had that postseason run. He's the guy that puts it all together. That when those guys, if one of those guys have one of those down games, Kawhi Leonard can step up and make that play. I mean, that's the whole reason why you went out and you signed him. He was the centerpiece of your team. Is because of what he did in that playoffs. And now he's the one that's injured. Unfortunately, that's his MO. And I think it was really bizarre to see him in that game. I'm watching it in the first half. First quarter, he plays 12 minutes. He plays 12 minutes in the first quarter, goes to the locker room, and comes out in street clothes. Doesn't come back out to the court. Doesn't come back out to the bench and sit down. He leaves the court. For back spasms, I think there's something deeper there. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird. It just the entire situation was really weird, and I'm never want any injuries on anybody, man. I really hope that he comes back healthy because I think that this is a really, really good team that could really push some other teams in these playoffs. And we know how deep the West is, but man, this just kind of feels really, really awkward, really weird. And like Jake said, something that we all kind of felt was coming.
Yeah, like you guys said, we saw it coming. We said last week, they're a dangerous team when they're healthy. And I would like to see Kawhi. Like, I want to piggyback off that. I want to see him healthy. I want to see Paul George. And I do want to see Westbrook and Harden healthy. I don't think Westbrook is that same player he has been the last few years when it came to just jacking up shots. He looks more comfortable with his role of not being, he's a ball handler, but not being the guy that's just going to lose the game for them. He trusts Paul George. He trusts Kawhi Leonard. And James Harden's had a decent season for being the 3 on the team. And he's had moments where he had to be the 1 because, like you said, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they've been hurt. It's unfortunate because Kawhi Leonard has had these injuries since. Well, I mean, he got hurt in the Spurs, and then he used that as kind of a way to get out of the team. Also got hurt from the Warriors with Zaza, but then he came to the Clippers. He was pretty healthy with the Raptors that one season and carried them to the championship with Kyle Lowry and the boys there. But yeah, since he's been in the Clippers, it's just disappointing because it's a lot of what ifs. It's like we say, like the Oklahoma City Thunder. What could have been with those 3 studs back in the day? What could have been with the Clippers with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard if they could just stay healthy? And I don't know if it's going to linger. I mean, back problems, like Jake says, they don't just go away. I hope it doesn't linger. I want to see him healthy. Like you said, I don't wish injury upon anybody, no matter who I like or dislike. But
to me, what this is akin to? This is like putting Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill on a team together, and it looks great. And these guys, they got all the talent in the world. But man, they're injured every year. If you had those guys on the team, they would be a great team. But they always end up injured. I would say with Russell, like, yeah, he's not that guy that's going to jack up shots anymore, where he's on this role. But one of those guys go down, and in the playoffs, is that old Russell going to come back? Because he's going to press. And man, I don't know, but it just. To me, the one guy you can't lose on that team is Kawhi Leonard, and if he's the one that's down, on injury, I think that's where you run into the problem.
Absolutely, if Kawhi's done long term, it's over. And for me, back spasms, but leaving the stadium, I wouldn't be surprised if something else comes out soon because that's not a good look. Leaving the stadium, I think it's more than a back spasm. Like, why would he go to the hospital treatment?
Did he go to the hospital or anything?
They haven't said anything. They're keeping it all hush-hush.
It's all hush-hush. That's why I said don't be surprised if this comes out to be something else because leaving the stadium is just totally, totally weird. And it's just hush-hush. Oh, he had back spasms, so he left. He couldn't sit down. That was all that was said.
So what, did they go home? Did they go home and lay down on? Like, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah, it does seem a little funky. I mean, yeah, that is weird. I know, like in a lot of sports, like even like football or even baseball is baseball too. You get hurt, you come back. I mean, typically, yeah, you get your treatment, you come back in street clothes, or if you're like your arm gets hurt, you're in a sling, crutches, whatever the injury is. Like you're normally there for the team, unless you have to go to the hospital or something like that.
Otherwise you're still in the building.
I get it if it was a lower ranked team and it's not that big of a deal, but it's Minnesota. They're the number one team in the West. They've been sliding. They've got big injuries of their own, but still, it's a high ranked team. This is a difficult team to play against, and for him to go out like that, it's tough to me, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Lou said he hopes that he travels on the road. I think they have a 2-game road series coming up, or stand, whatever. And Ty Lue's hoping that he's going to be there. I mean, obviously, he's going to say the right things. Ty Lue's a professional. I think, if anything, we all know Ty Lue is a player's coach. He doesn't get under anyone's feathers, and he's going to say the right things here. But it is a little strange. I will agree with you. It is a little strange. But let's move to the other Los Angeles team, Allen, the Los Angeles Lakers. Their stock. I've been looking at the last 10 games are 6-4, but they have been finding some rhythm, like you mentioned, D'Angelo Russell earlier. He's kind of been playing hot. Anthony Davis is balling, and you still have LeBron James. So, can D'Angelo Russell be that third guy? Can the other guys step up with him? Like, is this stock just going to keep rising? You guys are only a couple games out of that 6th seed, honestly, of not even being in the play-in. I think you guys are like 2.5 out, 3 games out at the time.
Yeah, this game against the Kings tonight is a major game because if we win this game, that will vault us into the 7th seed, get us closer to that 6th seed. I think that it's a difficult thing to look at, but look, there's 16 games left. I think honestly, looking at that, and I'm a homer here. Yeah, call me what you want, but I realistically, with the way the Lakers are playing, I think we can go 13-3, 12-4, maybe 14-2. That's the optimistic side. But I still think we win more than 10 games in this last 16 games. And I think that can help prepare us and propel us into that 6th seed, get us out of the play-in. I think that we're comfortable being in the play-in. I think we're comfortable playing up against anybody except for the Nuggets. Like we can, everybody's going to talk about that. Anybody can say that. Nuggets are on top. I think we're comfortable playing anybody except for the Nuggets. So honestly, if D'Lo can continue to be this guy, to have this green light, he's shooting the ball at such an amazing rate right now. LeBron just can't get him the ball enough. Every time he tries to pass it back to LeBron, LeBron's like, no, take that shot. He sends it back to him. AD is playing absolutely out of his mind when it comes to what he's doing on the defensive end, dictating the game. It was the same thing that we saw last year, man. AD is just controlling the defensive side of every single game. It's just phenomenal what he's doing right now. And I love to see him down low in the paint, really embracing this being the 5 on the team. He understands he's the biggest guy and the best rebounder on pretty much any court. It depends, if he's going up against Jokic, right? But like in most situations on most games, he's like the best defender and best rebounder in the game. And I think that what we're getting from Austin Reeves is also another benefit. He's really under the radar right now, but he's averaging 18 points right now. I mean, and that's a solid amount of points coming from a guy who's really a playmaker on the court. I think I saw something earlier this week that really kind of shouted out, kind of throwing Darvin Ham under the bus a little bit, but that's what us Lakers fans like to do. We like to find at least somebody to talk bad about. And Darvin Ham, he's had this tendency to really favor some guys and give a little bit more of a leash to some guys. And last year, a report came out today that Dennis Schroeder was one of those guys, and it really hampered D'Angelo Russell's relationship with Darvin Ham. And I think that caused some of him being pulled from games. And now he's not here, and D'Angelo Russell is getting more of a leash, getting more of that playing time, and you can see it on the court. He's in a flow, he's in a rhythm, and I just want to make sure. I just hope that once we get into the playoffs, he can't be taken out of games. We're still going to try to get him involved.
And I will piggyback too a little bit on that. Like your last 16 games, there's some big games here. I mean, obviously starting tonight with the Kings, but you play the Warriors twice. I mean, the Warriors are fighting because the Rockets are kind of just there. They're 5 games back, and I'm not saying the Rockets are going to make the playoffs, but they're sitting there behind the Warriors and yourself. So they have a shot to make it if one of you guys can stumble. You play the Pacers, you play the Bucks. You know, you have the Pelicans on there as well. You have some playoff teams, so you have a chance to show what you're going to be worth. This is getting towards the end of March. This is when LeBron gets hot. This is when Anthony Davis continues that pace, and will those key guys step up? So I think your stock is rising. Now, how far is it going to rise before the end of the season to get the seeding you want, if it's going to be playing or not? But I think you guys can get that 6th seed. I think Phoenix can fall out, depending on if they have injury histories. They have their own history or issues like the Clippers. So I think you guys can sneak out of the play-in tournament, honestly. The Mavericks are a little hot too, so it's like I think it's in between you and the Dallas Mavericks on who's going to get that last spot at 6. I think Phoenix might come back, or the Clippers if Kawhi's not playing. So I'm interested to see the Lakers. I think the stock is kind of climbing, slowly climbing.
Yeah,
It's
going off
Go ahead.
Going off the schedule coming up, yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to have 10-plus wins for sure. Because, I mean, they got the Wolves a few times. Wolves are beat up. Like you said, Pelicans will be a good match. Warriors are beat up. But I think they have a good shot to get out of the play-in for sure. But I'm not as high. I mean, obviously, yes, I'm a LeBum hater. But, all that aside, I'm not as impressed with them as everybody else is right now. Yes, I mean, they had some good wins lately. Yes, without LeBron, D'Angelo put up 44 and they beat the Bucks. But the actual contenders, they lost to the Kings. They lost to the Nuggets. They beat the Thunder, but I'm still not, I'm not up there. But yes, they're going to be out of the play-in. And with AD, I think the reason not everyone's jerking him off is because this is the AD that we're expecting. This is AD. This is the AD that he's supposed to be with the Lakers. Like, we've all been saying, where's that AD at? Is LeBron holding him down? AD before Lakers was one of the most dominant players in the league. This is expected of him. This is what I've been waiting for. But yes, he's absolutely dominant right now, and he should be in the MVP conversation because he is on fire. But I think that's the reason. Like, this is the AD we've all come to know and love. Like, this is what we were waiting for.
I get it, man, but the thing that bothers me so much when it comes to like these players that are in these situations where we expect them to do this, right, is it's the other guys like Luka who's getting all this shine. Watch Luka on the defensive side. He might as well play in the fucking 90s because he ain't touching nobody. He's running around in no man's land, letting anybody run by him. Like, yeah, he's doing this great thing statistically and offensively, but he's not even bodying anybody. He's not even cutting off backdoor. He's not even trying to get himself involved in pick and rolls. He's doing everything he can to stay away from somebody, right? Where is that type of accountability for players? And the same thing, right? We want to prop up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Man just did he just took a foul with 15 seconds left to get that 30-point streak just so he can pad his stats. Cool, go guy.
He plays defense. I like Luka. He actually does play defense. Now he's
just saying that was a weak move. That was very.
That's a weak move, bro. Like, and here we are with a guy like AD who's went through the scrutinizing. He's went through everybody coming after him. He's went through. Rightfully so, because he had his up and down games. He disappeared. He was going from, scoring 20 to scoring 6 on a game-to-game basis. It was happening, right? I get that. But here he is doing all the things that you've asked him to do over all these years. And now we expect it. Okay, we expect it. But
I think
he's doing it.
I think with AD too, I think when it comes to playoff time, especially the playoffs, there's only one player that can match him like head to head. Not saying like defensively, AD's gonna get his points over Joker, but he's the only big guy or 5, whatever you want to call it nowadays, that can keep up with Anthony Davis, at least in the East or the West Coast, probably even the East Coast as well. I think the only guy that maybe could do it was Joel Embiid, but even Joel Embiid has his struggles when it comes to guarding Anthony Davis. Now he might get his points here and there, but Joker's the only guy that can truthfully match Anthony Davis like night in and night out. That's what you're going to expect. So I think matchup wise, like Alan's been saying for the last few years, and I know we've heard it. let the game run through Anthony Davis. Let LeBron find AD. Let AD go through him. Now, that's not saying he's the best player, but he's the most important player. He is the most important player on the team. So I think you just keep going through AD, you'll start fucking finding that rhythm perfectly.
Absolutely, but when he plays the way he's supposed to play, like last year in the playoffs, AD was jacking up shots. Like we were all screaming, get in the paint, get in the paint. You know, like dominate. Like you're the big man. Like you should be dominating almost all these teams, as you said. You know, except for Jokic. But he's got to play like AD. Like he jacks up shots. What do you have? 6 points one game in the playoffs last year. Yeah. Like you got to play like AD. And absolutely, I mean, but right now
I think that's the difference this year, though. When you look at his games this year, I've been watching him. He's in the paint. He's going up, and you know, a lot of people are poo-pooing and getting all over the Lakers. They're getting upset because the Lakers get all the calls, or the Lakers have this great free throw disparity. We spend a lot of time in the paint. We have the most paint touches and attempts in the entire NBA. And a lot of that is Anthony Davis. We don't have many big men. It's Anthony Davis in the paint, getting rebounds and then putting it back up. And this man's getting slapped across the face. He's getting hit all over the place. No matter where, you got LeBron James getting bullied. But I mean, that's a normal thing because the NBA is not going to call anything because he's the Shaq of this generation. They're like, he's running down the middle of the paint. Even if they clothesline him, he can take that. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, like, I saw that one where he was bleeding his whole arm was bleeding. I'm like, oh, I mean, he definitely got clawed there a little bit. You know, I don't know how you missed that.
I mean,
he calls out himself though. Like the other night, he got barely tapped in the head, and he could have sworn he had a concussion. Like he calls out him. He asked for it. He asked for
he's
it.
Old man. He's an old man, dude. He's trying to take care of his body.
I'll give you that. He has exaggerated, and he's been there. He wants to call in every play, but at the same time, there's footage of LeBron James getting just mauled by guys. Literally 2 arms up, taking him out as he's driving to the paint, and there's no call.
Well, I'm going to paraphrase from a wise man that's in our Discord chat. You might know him, Alan. He goes by Alan Tomasella. Perception is pretty much everything, right? That's what we said earlier in the Discord chat. So when LeBron has that perception of flopping, it's going to be hard to call every single foul because the refs are so used to him faking his shit. Just saying, you know, just paraphrasing from a wise man that I know. So, but I mean, I agree. Yeah, he has taken a beating in his career. I will say he's probably the most hit man, most fouled man. And there's been lots of times that he hasn't gotten calls, but there's been lots of times he's gotten calls where he knows it. He flopped, he faked. But every player does it. It's not, and that's the thing is he's the face of the league, so he gets a little poo-poo for it, like you said. But every player does it. And players were doing it back in the 90s. I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But every era, players have been asking for fouls. 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now. It happens. I mean, that's just the way that the league, even in the NFL, even back in the 90s in the NFL, same thing. Everyone looks for fouls. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. I'll give you that.
But, yeah, let's talk Milwaukee real quick, boys. We're going to move on to the Bucks. And they did go on a little 2-game losing streak, but they are 7-3 in the last 10 games, and they were on a 6-game winning streak at one point right before the 2-game losing streak. So we're talking about the Lakers being up. Is it time for Milwaukee to officially take Boston? Boston went on a couple-game losing streak. Is Milwaukee coming for the not number one seed, but are they coming for the East Coast, the Eastern Conference title?
No, definitely not. I'm not scared of Milwaukee one bit. Obviously, I don't have a team in it right now, but they beat the Clippers twice. Okay. Warriors beat the hell out of them. Warriors are not good. Like, I'm not sold on Milwaukee. They're up and down. Kings beat them. Obviously, the Lakers beat them. But they go against contenders, and they're just off. You gotta hope for one of those nights where Dame's going to give you 40, and it's not going to happen every single night. Like, I'm not sold on Milwaukee one bit. And obviously, we all know who their coach is.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like.
Go ahead.
Go. I was going to say, for me, real quick, I think Giannis and Dame, like you mentioned, 40. Like, it's kind of like how Miami back in the day with the Big Three, they had role players, but they were older. But it felt like, back then, like D-Wade and LeBron and Bosh had to put up like 75 points together, right? That's what it feels like that they have to do by themselves.
That's what it
Just two
is.
of them have to do it. Yeah, two of them have to get 75, not three, because Middleton's a question mark at times now. I mean, I haven't really seen Middleton play good at all when I'm watching Milwaukee. He feels like he's a
We
ghost.
make fun of the Lakers bench, but the Bucks bench isn't much better.
Yeah,
I mean, I
the worst
agree.
part about the Bucks bench is that it's a bunch of guys who have been there for a while. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you got Bobby Portis, you got who's the Grayson Allen looking dude that comes off the bench? It's not Grayson Allen anymore. They kept the wrong one, Pat Connaughton.
I do love Bobby Portis though, but he's a dog.
But
Yeah,
I would say,
years ago.
thinking about
Yeah.
it like this, and when I look at it, man, maybe it's because I'm just not sold on Boston in the playoffs, but I'm just like, I think I'm probably more. I think that the Bucks and the Heat are probably more scary in the East than the Celtics are. And I think, talking about the Bucks, they're just not a West Coast team. They travel to the West Coast. Look at all those teams that they just lost to. It's West Coast teams. In the East, they dominate. And I think that in a series where I've always said this about Jason Tatum, he's not a guy who's an A+ at anything on the offense.
I saw that earlier about somebody else too. He's not elite at everything, but he's a jack of all trades though. He's got
But I would say he's just there. Those two guys on that team in a playoff series, in a 7-game series, both of them can have games each in a 7-game series, multiple 7 games in that 7 games. They can have games where they just control the series. They just got to do it 4 times, and those two guys can win 4 games by themselves and by each other. And they can control the pace. They can control the game. And again, I just go back to Giannis from 3 years ago. Giannis is right there as the best player in the league. I mean, right behind Jokic. We could say Jokic is the best player in the league right now, but I don't know if anybody is as dominant as Giannis when it comes to doing what he wants to do and what he's going to do. And when you go into these playoff series, you've got to take away things. And nobody in this world is taking away what Giannis does best, and that's get to the paint and get bucket shots.
I think when it comes to Milwaukee, like, and I know I said last week, and this isn't a joke anymore. Like, I'm being serious. I think Boston, Milwaukee, they'll just go back and forth. Like, they'll just put up points. I think the only team that can honestly slow down Milwaukee and Boston is the Miami Heat because of the way that we play defense. Now, we're not going to put up 115, 120 points every single game. That's just not what Miami does. But they control the game. They bully you. They play like the version of 90s basketball with 3-point shooters. That's the way that they remind me of. They remind me of guys that they're undersized too, but they're bullies. They're feisty. They're going to get in your head. They're going to fucking make you work. And that's what causes Milwaukee and Boston to struggle. That's what causes Giannis to have days. But they also have Dame Lillard the last couple of years when they played Miami. The 2 times they've lost to Miami. So will that add a factor? Dame having that chance to actually score outside Giannis, a more consistent player next to him rather than Chris Middleton? I like it. And I said Doc's been making him play defense the last couple of games. The defense has gotten better. So I think Milwaukee is a scary team. I really do. I think it's Milwaukee and Miami. I think Boston's going to find a way to do what Boston does, and that's choke. So I think it's going to come down to Milwaukee and Miami, what happens with those two if they play each other. But I like what Milwaukee's doing. Defense-wise, they're getting better.
And we want to talk about benches again. I know we're talking about the Bucks right now, but if we want to talk about benches, man, the Celtics really got nothing. What they got? Al Horford, that's your guy. I look at them and I just think, who else in the East is competing? I think the Magic are too early. Shout out to them.
I'd say watch out for them, though. I think they're going to be feisty in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to they might win a series, but they're going to be tough.
Jacques Vaughn's doppelganger got a new contract, so congratulations, Jamal Mosley.
Knicks are hurt.
Knicks are hurt. I do like the Cavs, but is Mitchell going to be healthy for it, and are they going to be 100% by the time playoffs come?
That's true. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I'm not in the East. I think the West is going to win it, but out of the East, no one really like, I mean, I get it. Boston's got the best record, but we've seen this before. And until Tatum and Brown show me that they can win the big one, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. Like they'll just find a way somewhere to do it. Milwaukee, they have the experience outside. Dame's got playing experience, but not championship pedigree experience. So, but playing with Giannis, that's gonna rub off.
I'm just gonna, but I'm just saying, like in the playoffs, he does have experience in putting teams away. Like that is what he does in the playoffs. Is he puts teams away when it's time to take them away. When everybody's like, "Oh, this series is coming back," right? It's 3-1. Trailblazers are up, and don't worry about it. We're coming back to Houston. Nah, he put them away. When it's the Thunder, don't worry about it. Paul George, Russell Westbrook, yeah, they're gonna bring this series back. Nah, he put them away from the logo. All right, and that is what Dame is gonna bring to this team. Is when Giannis is gonna dominate down low, but when it comes to late game, I don't think again there's anybody else in the NBA but maybe Steph that you want shooting that deep three to dagger somebody.
Bucks versus Miami, 7-game series. Give me Jimmy Butler all day.
Man, that is
all day.
But listen, that right there is the Boston Celtics like dream scenario where those two teams play each other in the first round.
The thing with me in Miami is they remind me of the San Antonio Spurs with Pop and them. They're boring, but they play team ball. They don't have any egos. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's got like the ego of Jimmy Butler, like you said, but he doesn't let that get to him. He is a team-first player. All these guys, they rub off each other. There's no true superstar. Yeah, you can say Jimmy Butler's a superstar, but like when I say superstar, I mean like LeBron James, Joker, guys like that. He's not that, but he's so big in the playoffs, like you guys have said. So, and Spoelstra is like kind of like a Popovich. He gets these guys to play team ball, and that's what you're going to want. Boston, to me, doesn't do that. It's a two-man show with Porzingis, and then Milwaukee's a two-man show with Giannis and Dame.
100% a two-man show. And if one doesn't show up, they get blown out by 30. They both had to have 30 or 40 points for them to win a game. They played the Kings last night, and Dame went, 2 for 12?
But you're talking about West teams, man. Like, West teams, the West is deep, 10 teams deep. And they had to go on a West Coast trip. Like, they've been playing over the last, 4 games, they've been playing West Coast teams. And
but they still need both players to show up.
They do, but in the East, they're going to be playing up against weaker teams unless they go up against the Heat. I think that the Heat are going to, on the stretch that they're on, I think the Heat are going to end up probably in the 6 range. They could even jump to 5, just the way that they're playing right now. But I think the dream scenario for the Boston Celtics is for those two teams to play each other because they don't want to have to play both of them before they get to the finals, right? If they're going to make it to the finals. Because if they go up against the Bucks in the second round and they win that, it's a 7-game series. And then to have to go up against the Heat in the next round, they're going to be gassed. They're going to be done. They don't want to do it. And vice versa. They don't want to go either way. They don't want to have to play both of those teams. So the dream scenario is for them to play each other and they don't have to deal with it. But again, I think that this is this is not as big of a deal as is being made out to be over this West Coast trip because in the East, they dominate in the East. That's what the Bucks have done with Giannis. Giannis has always dominated against the Eastern Conference. So he's going to get out there. I think that they're going to put it together enough and they've got enough guys with playoff experience that they're going to be able to put these teams away early, get some rest, and then be able to go up against who they need to go up against.
Yeah, well, and we're going to see, like you said, we're at that final stretch. We're going to see what Doc does with this team, what Giannis and Dame are able to do as leaders with the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe Chris Middleton finally steps up, something he hasn't done. And all eyes are on Milwaukee. And guess what, boys? All eyes are on the defending champion. And they're hot. They're 9-1 their last 10. Is anyone able to beat the Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series? Are they just flat out unstoppable?
Man, I think the answer to that is yes right now. Maybe I'm a homer. Maybe it's that I just got too much belief in my team. But I do think that the only team constructed to be able to, if they got on the hottest of hot streaks, that the only team that would be able to beat the Denver Nuggets is the Lakers. I look at the rest of the West and I'm just like, man, in a 7-game series, they're not taking it. I think Nuggets win in 6.
The way it's constructed right now, if the way the West ends right now, the Lakers are the only team that can match up with the Nuggets. I'm not saying Lakers can beat them, but they are the only team that is built to go against the Nuggets. Anybody else, Nuggets are going to beat the hell out of them.
And just like Miami, Denver is they are team fundamental ball as well. Like, I mean, Joker doesn't have to score 35 every game. You'll have Jamal Murray and Michael Porter. He'll drop some points. You know, you have these guys that just come out of Reggie Jackson. He might have a big game here and there. Braun's a key player. Aaron Gordon, he's gotten way better than the Orlando days. He was key last year for the Nuggets, and it's just crazy. I'm literally watching them right here, and you forget how freakishly big they are too at each position. Like they're some big boys that are, and they're not just big slow guys. They're big athletic guys. They're athletic cats out there that are moving in, and they don't have a superstar 1-2. Jamal Murray's nice, but he's not like, you know, he might be a top 5 point guard, but in the league, but he's not what someone calls a household name where, you know, you want him. But playoff Jamal Murray is. I think Jamal Murray is a beast.
I think he's gaining that traction where we talk about playoff Hemi. Like, he's getting to that level where it's like in the regular season, yeah, he's a guy. But when he comes to playoff time, Jamal Murray's dynamic. As long as he can get healthy to the playoffs, he's a dynamic guy who can take over games.
Yeah,
and Michael Porter's balling.
After all that shit that we've said about Michael Porter, because he's had some struggles, but he's
been garbage, back issues nonstop. He can't stay on the court, but he is balling this year.
Man,
he was kind of key last year in the
steal too, man.
He was key last year in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. There were some games where he struggled, but he was pretty key for them last year. I mean, obviously Jamal Murray, like we said, Jamal Murray is. He's showing. I saw a clip earlier this today. Someone was talking about top 5 point guards. Jamal Murray, I'm saying he might be a top 3 or 4 point guard. Honestly, if you think about it, when it comes to like playoff Jamal Murray,
I don't know if I could go there. I don't know if I would go there, mainly because there's so many point guards. It's such a point guard dominant league, man. And then we're out here calling fucking Luka a point guard. Like I just don't know when it comes to Jamal Murray putting him in top 5. Like that's kind of tough, man.
I mean, I thought Kyrie would be more. Oh, I mean, I guess he's not. I guess he's the shooting guard. Kyrie's too small to me. I felt like he'd be the point guard out of the team, though he shoots the ball better,
but they list Luka as a point guard. Luka is listed as the point guard on that team, and I just, man, there's so many point guards in the league. It's pretty tough to put him in that top 5, but still, their bench plays well. They're an all around team, and like you said in the last pod, man, Joker is going to do what you give him, and he's going to take away what you gave him and do what he wants to do. And then he's just going to have these plays where he just does crazy things, throws the ball up, and it's nothing but net. And he's going to drop it. And you're going to shake your head. You're going to put your arms up, and you're going to be like, what am I supposed to do here? I just don't know.
And Mike Malone's a good coach, too. Like, people sleep on him. I mean, he's got championship.
He's annoying as fuck.
He might be annoying, but he is a good coach. I mean, like I said, they're not superstar names. Joker, Jamal Murray are probably your stars, but I mean, he's making it work, and he's got a good system out there. And it's hard to hate on him. I mean, hate on him for on what he does with the team. I mean, obviously, personality might be one thing, but he's a pretty good coach. So that good coaching, that's the key as well in the NBA. You need that. It's not college basketball where just fucking go play zone and just say fuck it, like, you know, and then your superstar players win in the March Madness tournament. But coaching matters. Alan, I want you to cue up the next topic. You're the one this one's been a heart to heart for you the last few nights. I did some Twitter search today, and it's not just basketball. Apparently, it's a lot of '90s things, but basketball's been a hot topic with it because of Michael Jordan. It's always been with LeBron James, Michael Jordan. But I want you to cue it up, and we'll feed off you. this
Well,
one.
listen, man, I'm gonna start this off almost like in a story time right here, but I deleted my social medias a while ago, and as I've gotten onto the pod with you guys, I've kind of had to open up new social medias, and so this past week was football, and our boy Jake is out here insider news. I'm like, I gotta keep up. All right, I gotta keep up. I gotta know what's happening here. So I download the Twitter, the X. All right, and all I keep getting on my feed is this: we're done with the '90s, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm just like watching it, and then it's, man, they're really going at Jordan, man. I don't think I've ever seen this many people actually going at Jordan. And then it's all these old heads clapping back like, you guys just don't know anything about Jordan. And the thing that I'm seeing is all the younger guys and all the people that are on the side of we're done with the '90s. They're throwing out numbers. They're throwing out footage. They're throwing out actual things that back up what they're saying. And then I see the typical response from the nostalgia driven minds of, man, you guys just don't know. This is what you get for just getting to look at highlights. This is what you get. You never know what MJ was. And the truth is, man, going back to it, we were blinded. We were brainwashed into how great Michael Jordan was. You go back and watch game tape. You go back and watch just how much the NBA was propping this man up for all these things that he was doing. And I pride myself in being somebody that is receptive and accepting of change. I'm a Kobe fan through and through. I think he was the greatest skilled player the league has ever seen. I'll never say he's the greatest player. That debate is for others. But as time goes on, you see different things happen. And right now, where I'm at with it is, man, I'm done with the fucking '90s. All right, I'm done with the '90s. All right, I'm tired of looking at this old ass footage. These guys running up and down the court. Now, I was told that the '90s was supposed to be tough guy basketball. I got guys running down the court, dribbling with the right hand, not even getting forced to go left. They can't dribble with their left, and they're still running down the middle of the paint, getting wide open layups, and nobody's even contesting. All right, there's guys on the court that are 5'6". You got Julian Edelman running down the middle of the court with dribbling with his right hand. He ain't even got skill. All right, and he's going for a layup. I'm tired of it. All right, so I see this stuff, and I'm just like, I get it. The '90s was bad boy basketball. It was beat 'em up. It was you can't get in there. But then turn on the footage. Turn on the footage, and yeah, some of those games are ugly. But I swear to you, even in those ugly games, you're looking at it like, where is the effort? What are these guys doing? Who's out here actually doing basketball skills? And it just kind of compounds with my belief that no matter what you do, in every sport, in every generation, technology is going to implement itself. And with technology comes the better ability to prepare yourself and a better ability to recover yourself. And you're going to be able to study things. There's camera footage in nowadays game where you can 360 it, spin it around, and you can see every single angle to be able to view where a guy is looking at you on the court. In the '90s, you didn't have that. So the knowledge of basketball is actually higher nowadays than it was in the '90s. But fundamentalists and the old heads are going to be like, no, man, there's no fundamentals anymore because they're not teaching in high school because they're all playing AA basketball. But guess what? These kids are they're held to higher standards. And I'm not quite there on hopping on the LeBron freaking bandwagon, but I will say this. I am inching closer and closer to LeBron as the greatest player that's ever lived. And I know for a fact I can say he's had the greatest career. We talked about it in the last pod. 40,000 points. In order to do that, you have to average 72 games, 26 points a game for 20 years. That's just insane. How many guys in the NBA average 26 points for their entire career? Kobe didn't. How many guys? Like, that's insane in order to get to there, and he's done it. That's where I'm at with it. I'm not I'm not saying that the 90s, the video footage and the game tape that we're seeing, right, isn't the entire thing. Yeah, we're looking at lowlights, maybe you're going to call it, but there are games that don't exist anymore, that are deleted from the database, that aren't no longer on the internet for you to see, and they just so happen to be some players' worst games. So tell me.
I think the problem though with the old heads, Alan, is that they're going to sit there and be like, and this is what Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe's an old head, but he does transition to the new era. Like he fucking develops and he accepts change. They understand. Michael Jordan was 6-0 in the finals, and that's all they have. Just like Bad Teacher, whatever that was, with Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel, whatever his name was, and he's yelling at that little kid. He's like, "That's all I need is 6 rings." That's his argument. But that's why, like, championships in all sports, it doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey, unless you're playing golf, championships is a team game. It doesn't make you the best player because you win 6. Because if that's the case, then Bill Russell's the GOAT and not LeBron or Michael Jordan. But then when you say that, they're like, well, look who he played with. He played against janitors. Okay, well, compared to the 90s, those guys are janitors to the guys nowadays. Those guys weren't nearly as athletic as they are today. Just like football, the guys in the 90s aren't as athletic as they are in 2020 to 2023 or 2024 now. So it is a different game. And like Jake said, it's hard to compare eras. Just like I forgot which NBA player said it. It's hard to compare. Michael said it. I can't do things that Kareem did, just like Kareem can't do things that I'm doing. So, I mean, it's true. Like, there's things that they did back then. They played football on basketball courts. It was about fucking beating you up and clotheslining you out midair, not calling fouls, like having fights. That's not basketball. That's entertaining if you're playing street basketball, but that's not fucking basketball. I don't give a shit if they let you play street rules back in the day. They swallowed the rule book. They swallowed their goddamn whistle unless you were a superstar. And that's what they did. That's not the NBA. I mean, I get it. Great. Michael won 6 championships, but overall talent, LeBron's an overall talent. Better. Is he a better winner? No, he's not, because Jordan won 6. But just because you're a better winner doesn't mean you're a better player.
Yeah, see, my thing is, I'm like, people can be done with the 90s, absolutely. I'm done comparing. We got a Jordan era, we got a Kobe era, we got a LeBron era. I'm not comparing. We got 3 of the greatest of all times. Which way you want to go with those 3, by all means. But I'm sick of the comparing. Like, people will say Jordan's the greatest because he never, no one was winning during his era. The Spurs were winning during Kobe's. The Warriors were winning during LeBron's. That means nothing to me. As you said, it's a team sport. Yes, Jordan's 6-0, but the argument, there's 3 different eras, 3 different GOATs, however you want to look at it. Some will say LeBron's the best, some will say Kobe's the best, someone's going to say MJ. Really, it depends on your age. Like, I watched the end of Jordan, I watched all of Kobe. I absolutely hate LeBron. So, right, I mean, but
yeah, we get you saying, yeah, you're just saying.
But I mean, you're going to ask someone who's 40 or 50 years old, MJ's their favorite player. You ask a kid that was, young and growing up, all of LeBron's the GOAT. He's the greatest player I've ever seen. Yeah, of course. That's what you've seen. I'm done comparing the 3. Like, they all had their eras.
The thing to me when it comes to he's not as a great of a winner as Jordan or even as Kobe. To me, we look at the league and it's much more there's so much more competition. There's teams that are just out there every single year. And what's crazy is, growing up, we were like, the NBA is not like the NFL, because the NBA, you got 3-4 teams that can win the championship, right? And every single year it has now blossomed, and it's changing over. There's parity in the league, and you have guys. I mean, we're all living in the era of LeBron right now, but we're forgetting the fact that who's the guy right behind him who with the most 20-point seasons? It's Kevin Durant at 15. LeBron's got 20. Kevin Durant's got 15 right behind him. And Kevin Durant is a little bit outshined. And Kevin Durant, we're not seeing as great of a player as he is. He's not getting that same hype. But that's just goes to show how great these guys are on this court. This is Steph's era. This is LeBron's era. This is KD's era. We've got Kobe in the same era as LeBron. We got Tim Duncan in the same era as Kobe. I know we had greats in the 90s and we had greats in the 80s, right? But what did we have in the 80s? We had greats that were winning along with each other, right? You had Magic, who was winning in the same time frame that Larry was winning. And we had the Bad Boy Pistons that still won championships. And in the 90s, yeah, Jordan took time off. He conveniently took time off. I don't want to go into the specifics of all the things that everybody always talked about, but it was convenient the time that he took off because that was the time when the Bulls needed to rebuild. They needed to flip that roster, and they did. He came back after they flipped that roster. That was very convenient. But here he is. He didn't, because if he was in those same seasons, there's no guarantee that they win those. And the Rockets were building up pretty damn well during that time. And Hakeem was the guy. So there's no telling that the Bulls would have won those 2 years if Michael Jordan didn't tuck tail and run. And I'm calling it tuck tailing and running. Maybe not for basketball reasons. Maybe it was for other reasons. But he still took that time off at a very convenient time. And you look at the league now, like I said, you got Kobe, you've got Shaq, you've got Duncan, you've got all these great players playing at the same time, winning these championships. Then you go into the 10s and you've got LeBron and you got KD, you got Steph, you got guys playing across the league, playing amazing basketball. It's just getting better and better. And over time, these players are going to be faster, bigger, stronger, and more athletic. They're smarter than they were. I even said something earlier today. Take the bottom half of the NBA today and put them in the 90s. I guarantee they're probably somewhere between 25 and 75 when it comes to the better players in the league.
And another thing is, too, when it comes like Jake's about stop comparing all the eras, when you're comparing what we think the top three players are, LeBron, Kobe, and MJ, whichever order, like Jake said, you have two players that mirror each other. That's Kobe and MJ. I'm not saying they're the same player, but they're damn near exactly a fucking image of each other. LeBron is a different player than what those two were. It's like comparing Peyton Manning to Michael Vick. That's what we're doing. Or Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes can run and sling the fucking rock 70 yards on his fucking on his fucking right side. Manny can't. He can't do that shit. That's not what he was. It doesn't take away from Peyton Manning. Just like it shouldn't take away from LeBron James that he's on a fucking guy that wants to be a 35-point guy in the playoffs and no assist and hog the ball. That's not what he was. That's not who he is. And I'm sorry. He makes the perfect situations. If the guy's open in the corner and you got four guys swallowing you down, you kick it out. If they miss it, they miss it. It's a team game. And that's what LeBron believes in, team over himself. That's an ego thing. Now, maybe he's afraid of the moment. Maybe. I don't know. But it's also an ego thing if you're sitting here saying they have to drop 60 points to win the game. And that's what the old heads want. They want you to be the guy that drops 60 and closes the game out. That's not the way it should be. It should be a team game.
I feel like in those moments, like it is always circumstantial, right? But I feel like at least LeBron's consistency to always do the right thing, to always make the right play. Maybe it is an ego thing. Maybe it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just always going to do the right thing no matter what. But I do also feel like there is a moment in there where you have to make the right thing, right? You've got to enforce your will to where that will is the right thing. So I think there's that's the little disconnect there, but it's not. You shouldn't be jacking up bad shots. You're not supposed to be Russell Westbrook out there jacking up bad shots. But if you're the guy like Giannis that can impose his will on a team and drive himself in the paint, that is maybe not the right play, but imposing your will is the right move, right? Like that's kind of how I look at that. And so maybe LeBron should have had those moments where he did do that, but I don't think that it's a barometer to say that he's not as much of a winner because he didn't have the killer instinct to jack up shots than Kobe and MJ. But same time, he has had games where he's come out and he's just, this was the moment. He was not going to lose this game. He was, and that's the thing about LeBron's career. When you go back and you look at it from his early years with Cleveland to when he learned his lessons in Miami to when he moved back to Cleveland and now he's with the Lakers. There in every single moment, in every single journey point in his career, he has had one of those games where he says, you know what? I am not going to lose this game.
See, that's my problem with him, though. All those journeys. Like you said, Michael Jordan left, when it was coincidentally rebuild time. LeBron coincidentally left Cleveland when it was going downhill and went to Miami. And then they have a roster coming, and all of a sudden, let's go back to Cleveland.
Oh no, he didn't leave Cleveland because of the rebuild. He left Cleveland the first time because they weren't supplying him help. It wasn't the rebuild. It was
they were done.
It was not getting help. Yeah, LeBron was tired of the general manager not getting him talent around him. They thought Delonte West and Mo Williams was going to be the guy that was going to help carry LeBron. That was the issue.
Cleveland was done, and he left.
What I would say,
correct.
Here's what I'm saying about that though, is that Cleveland is not a place where free agents want to go. Cleveland is not a place where you want to go and get talent, right? Like, you've got to draft well. That GM was not a good GM. He wasn't drafting well. He wasn't getting guys to develop them. And so you didn't have assets to go and get guys in trades because you weren't signing anybody in free agency. So LeBron learned a valuable lesson. In order for me to be able to have the leeway in capitalism to be that guy that demands those players to come with me, because I've got to be the recruiter. If I want to win, I've got to be the recruiter. So then he was like, you know what? I'm going to put it all on me. I'm leaving. He goes to Miami. He becomes a winner. He becomes a guy who got through the moment. Yeah, he had the worst moment of his entire career when we talk about Miami because he just completely vanished in the finals. And I mean, one thing that these 90s guys keep on talking about is him getting bodied by JJ Barea and freaking Jason Terry, right? Like Jason Terry just killing him in the game. Like that was that moment. That was his worst moment in his career. But you go back and you look at the lessons that he learned, he became the GM and became the recruiter and became the guy who was going out and making those front office moves after he learned his lesson with the Cleveland team at first, went to Miami, learned from Pat Riley, and then took that shit back to Cleveland and was like, you know what? I'm bringing a championship here. I think that he has those moments. Yes, he did. He did walk away from Cleveland. But he learned his lesson and he brought it with him. And then when he had the capital to be able to do something about it, he walked back to Cleveland and said, get me some stars. Get me somebody.
I'll say before we end this, I think it's harder to win with three organizations than it is to three-peat. I think it's a lot harder to win with three different teams than it is to have a three-peat. And I get it. MJ did it 2 times.
Well, and all the finals he went to consecutively. Nobody else is ever doing that ever again.
He went to eight finals in a row.
Well, I would say
some of those rosters didn't even belong there. So I mean, yes, he gets his credit for sure, absolutely. That's why I respected him back then.
I would say the Miami roster and Cleveland rosters, because LeBron always had a good sidekick, D Wade or Kyrie.
Not the original Cleveland roster.
Oh no, the first Cleveland roster. Yeah, the first Cleveland roster.
Mo Williams was
That's what I said.
Mo Williams was the big move.
And even the second time,
Z was their center. Come on now.
And even the second time against the Warriors, there was no Kyrie. It was just Kevin Love and LeBron.
All right, Booby Gibson, that was the guy.
But yeah, even that second one was a little suspect because Kevin Love was his number 2, and it was LeBron. Kyrie was in Boston that year, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Cleveland was a 4 or 5 seed that year. They were just chilling until the playoffs kicked in, but. Yeah, the 90s and the 90s and now, and then 10, 15 years it'll be the 2000s to now, and then it's going to keep going. It's just when we get older, we're probably going to be stubborn a little bit too. We'll have our moments. It's all sports. I mean, that's how it is. All sports. But great show, boys. I had fun. This was a good segment. So we're going to save the football for when we do our winners and losers of free agency because we did have some signings and trades. Actually, Eric Kendricks got signed while we're on the show. Cowboys finally made a move outside their long snapper, so good job, Dallas. Way to participate.
Good way to.
They had to steal him, but it was cool.
Good way to steal from the Niners. Nobody likes seeing the Niners get players, all right?
Their first win against us in a while. Let them have it.
Damn, that's true. That is true. That's God damn. No, but hey, just like they said, it's big brain by Jerry Jones. don't do anything in free agency because there's no expectations when you lose in the regular season, because they always make a splash here and there, and then we expect, okay, maybe they're going to go far. This time, we ain't expecting that, even though us realistic people aren't expecting it ever. But unless you're Allen, he thought that Dak was going to go to the Super Bowl last year.
I'll never make that mistake ever again. All right, I'm done with him. All right,
They're about to pay him $60 million. Oh my gosh!
And when they do that, it'll make the Kirk Cousins deal look fucking absolutely, and don't even have to talk about it no more. Just please, Dak, sign so we can get this Kirk Cousins shit
Dak is
out of the way in
better
our
than
long.
Kirk. Stop hating on the man.
He still has more playoff wins than Kirk.
He does.
So.
He does.
Right.
He does. He's also been in the playoffs more. He's had more opportunity.
He's got more All Pros than Kirk Cousins too.
Less Pro Bowls though, where it's a fan favorite.
I'm not talking about Pro Bowl. I'm talking about All Pro. I'm talking about All Pro. Yeah.
Dak's so garbage he can't get more Pro Bowls, and it's a garbage fucking award.
Right, whatever.
No, seriously, no. It was good. Good show, boys. Alan, good luck out there in 2 weeks. Not sure who's going to be on here. We're going to do a winners and losers episode of Free Agency Week 1, and then we're going to try and do a post-free agency mock draft coming up very shortly, too. Now we'll start telling where we're going to start seeing where these players are going to go. Caleb Williams, Jane Daniels, Drake May, all the receivers. We're going to start seeing it now. So stay tuned on that. Be alert for that as well. Like I said, Alan, good luck out there. Jake, if I don't see you the rest of this week, have a good weekend. I'm Mark Davis. This is All About the Balls Podcast, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls Podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at The Sack House.